Hi everyone, Kathy Beltran with Sacred Dance with Trance. I am super excited to have Lou Ann Beecher, a amazing medium and teacher and my own teacher here with us today. Oh, I'm just so excited about this. Everybody, Lou Ann Beecher.
Hi, everyone. I can't tell you how honored I am to be here. This is a place I never expected to be, and here I am.
Oh my goodness. And of course, she's coming from Maryland, US here. So, I'm just super excited. And we're hoping that, I was having some technical issues, but I'm hoping that's going to clear away. I wanted to start off, we always start off this way, which is talking about your journey, how all of this started for you. What got you on this path?
Oh, so many things. Actually, the first time that I went to see a medium, I'd always kind of had an interest in spiritual things, not thinking about doing a mediumship as part of my life. And there was a lady from the UK by the name of Irene Nederman, and she was here in Maryland doing readings, and I went to see if I could prove her as a fake and a fraud, which was really not a very nice thing to do. And I was a horrible sitter, and I had my arms crossed, and I took my wedding ring off so nobody knew I was married, and I was yes, no, yes, no. And when the reading started, she brought through a person that I could not connect with. So I thought, oh, this is a bunch of hooey. And then she brought my grandmother in and gave some amazing evidence. And I remember at one point in that reading sitting back and saying, pay very close attention because something magical is happening. And I'm not good with emotion. So I was feeling it kind of welling up inside me. And during that reading, she told me that I was a medium and that my guides and people, helpers, inspirers had been on the other side just waiting for me to open the door. And at that point I wasn't ready to open it. But she came back the next year and I said, okay, I'm willing to do it for me, but I'm not doing it for other people, but I would like to connect with my own loved ones in spirit. So I'm just going to open the door a little. And she said, the door is either open or it's closed. Oh my God. Once it's open, it's open. You don't know where it's going to lead. So Irene Nederman is an absolutely amazing woman who mentored me every time she came to the United States. And then she quit coming, and I went to a spiritualist church for a while, and that closed. And so I started my own little circle in my home. And that was probably about 2008. So at that point, I'd been developing since the late 90s, maybe 2000. And it just, there's been a whole lot of things. It's like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. It kind of weirds me out. And then over time, I learned to accept it. I tend to be a very logical, got to make sense type of a person. So I call myself a snail. My development has been very slow, but always making progress, and I just kind of allow it to happen. And I'm not one of those people that developed quickly. I'm not one of those people that jumped in with 2 feet. I have to take it slow and steady, and that's what's worked for me. And now I find myself, I still have the same circle here. Wow. Development circle, which has now moved from a mental mediumship development circle to a trance circle. Wow. Over the course. So it's been, what, 9 years now? Wow. That we've been together, and people have come and gone, but we've had the same core group of people now for well over a year. And it's a harmonious group, and we love and support each other, and are very passionate about working with the spirit world. So it's been beautiful, and I wouldn't have changed a bit of it, and spirit is 90% of my day now.
Oh my goodness. I want to bring up, I've actually were able to be at a platform demonstration 3 times watching you, and the amount of healing that I saw when you're sitting there doing this. It was beautiful. I was so inspired when I saw that from you. And, you know, the sitters, they're like in tears, but you could see that love coming from you. So detailed. But the healing I witnessed just observing you, that amazing medium that you are. I mean, I'm just so grateful to be able to have you as my teacher. But to witness that healing that you do and the service you do serving spirit. So I'm so excited to have you on here finally.
Thank you. Yeah, it's truly not me, it's spirit. I have to step out of myself because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm scared to death. When I get up in front of all those people, the me, the earth me, can't do it. It just terrifies me. So there's a point that when I get ready to deliver messages, I kind of step out. You'll see me take a step forward. Yes. And I step outside of myself. And at that point, it's my soul self. That's the only way I can describe it. And the healing, it's so funny that you say about the healing, because when I first started the mediumship and then somebody said, oh, you know, you should do the healing. And I was like, I don't want to do the healing. It's weirds me out. Now I'm a Reiki master teacher. So you just don't know where the journey's going to take you. It's a matter of being open when you're ready to be open to it. And don't let somebody else tell you what's the right time for you, or you're not working hard enough or whatever. You know, divine timing. I'm a firm believer in divine timing and allowing it to happen when it's supposed to happen. So I really appreciate what you said about my platform mediumship. Again, platform was another thing, like, I'm not getting up in a bunch of people and deliver messages. And over the last 2 or 3 years of doing platform, I find that I really love it.
Wow. Now that's beautiful. I mean, I'm telling you, I've seen you and it's just amazing when I watch you work.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. So when you started, I know that you started initially with your circle, and then it just transitioned to a trance circle.
Yeah.
How is that going? I mean, how long have you been doing the trance? What inspired you? What made you all of a sudden switch from mental, circle to all of a sudden the trance?
Right. First of all, I consider myself a baby when it comes to trance work. I've been doing trance a little over a year. I believe we started in July of 2016. One of the members of our development circle, and we meet once a week at the same time, been doing that for years and years and years, had talked about trance because she had someone else that she was working with that was a good trance mentor. So we were very fortunate to luck into somebody that was willing to work with us. He's not local, so we, like, every 6 months we'll do a Skype session and sit with him, and he's been amazingly wonderful to us. Right now it's 5 of us that are developing. It's the same 5. And things change every time we get with him. We were kind of willy-nilly, who feels like going in trance tonight? And through the guidance of our mentor, he said, why don't you pre-arrange a meeting with spirit? So 2 of us go into trance each week, and we know ahead of time which 2 people that's going to be. So we meet on Tuesday night. So tonight I will send a message out to spirit saying, whatever, souls are going to be working with the 2 mediums tomorrow, we invite them in. We ask permission from them to come in, and it's just an amazing thing. And I'll be honest, when I first started trance, I was open to it. I was actually excited about it because when I got into mediumship, I didn't know a darn thing about mediumship. And so I really was kind of on my own for a while. Once the spiritualist church closed, we were truly on our own, and there were just a group of us that were really interested. And that's how I felt going into trance, is that it was this amazing journey that I had no idea where it's leading. Still don't know where it's going to lead. But that was, for me, a lot of the beauty of it. And when we first said, okay, we'll become a trance circle, I didn't even know I was going to be sitting for trance. No idea. So is it important to know that? In my situation, no, it wasn't. I now have a better understanding of trance, only through my own experience and the experience of my circle. But I now understand a little bit more about where this is headed, possibly headed. We don't really know for sure, possibly headed for me. But what I've found that I love is the philosophy from spirit that comes through. I do too. It's like the things they talk about are just beautiful. Now, me being the left brain person, I want to know all about their life. I want them to talk about themselves and when they were living, but their purpose in connecting with us has been more for the development of the circle and just amazing guidance for mankind.
Wow.
So it's been fabulous.
I mean, that sounds so beautiful. And you
It
mentioned,
is.
like the guidance, the intention, setting an appointment with spirit, letting them know, okay, this is what, what we are planning to do on Tuesday nights. And then allowing the two people going into trance. But
Right.
A lot of people have mentioned that they set an appointment with spirit.
Yes.
Important.
That I have found that's really helpful. We always start our circle once we're done gib-gabbing for a while and having a cup of tea. We sit in the circle and we do healing. We'll do a healing session for either people or the planet. I mean, the earth right now is going through such a shift that really sending healing to the earth has been a lot, the focus, I would say, for the last month of the group. So once we've sent our healing, then we start moving the energy around the circle, and you can feel it. I mean, it's a physical thing that you can feel the energy moving, and to bring harmony within the group. I feel that harmony amongst the people sitting together and harmony amongst our energies, because we're all different energy and maybe we don't jive at the same level, but when you bring that energy around the circle, it does really help whoever's going to be going into trance that night to feel that love right there.
Wow. And I like how you said that, because you brought up harmony within members, it being very important. And a lot of people say that it is very important.
Yes. And here's the thing, and that this is only my opinion and I can only speak for myself. I've been really fortunate that the people that I have in my circle I've worked with for quite a while. The core 5 of us that are there now have been together at least 2 or 3 years. Some of them have been longer than the 2 or 3 years. I think that in some circles, there will be a time that 1 or 2 people in that particular trance circle just aren't the right energy for that group. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't do trance. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that person. But I think spirit brings together those that they find it's easier to work with based on the harmony of the energy in the group. And I do think that being passionate about this work is very, very important as part of that process. So if someone is sitting in a trance circle, and either they don't feel that their energy is right for the circle, or spirit or the group feels that the energy is not right, I think it's only fair for the development, for the collective, and the development of everybody, for perhaps that person to step aside and see how that affects that particular circle. And that's to say, maybe they start their own circle somewhere, with a group that maybe more harmonizes with them. This is not personal.
Yes.
It's not personal at all. I've been in groups myself that, after 3-4 months, I've said, I don't think this is the right group for me. And they were probably thinking the same thing and didn't want to hurt my feelings, to say, I don't think you're right for this group. I think that's a beautiful thing, to be able to allow someone else to leave your circle to go on their own path that maybe doesn't jive with the people that you're with.
Yes.
And you let them go with love and light and with all the support in the world, and, ask that spirit support them in finding the right place for them.
Yes. Actually, I like that. I know within my own circle, we've had some issues as well that come up, and it's very hard,
Yes.
But I do believe that anybody that's there or that's wanting to develop, they have to have that passion. They have to have that within them to really want to dedicate their time to sit every week. But I know that it has to be something that they really want to do to be there.
Yes.
To grow as a group, I think it is really hard sometimes when, being within a circle and then having to make those decisions. But sometimes I feel also from talking with many people that their guides come in and kind of guide you into
Yes.
the next stages. So, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because a lot
Yes.
of times we haven't talked about that.
Sometimes I think it's just a shift in the way that you see things. And that if you shift your focus to not about you and who are you connecting with in spirit and who are you working with, but shift your focus from your own development to the development of the others in the group, and to make your purpose in being there to love and support everyone's journey, because we're all going to develop at different rates.
Yes.
And as soon as one starts comparing their journey to somebody else's journey, it all kind of implodes on itself.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So I think just a minor shift in the way that you view it and say, I'm here for the others, and my own development is kind of a bonus to what's happening in the circle. I think that can help. I know when you did the interview with, I think it was Martin Twycross. Love Martin. Love Martin. I do. He had talked about having helpers, I think he called them helpers, in the group that really weren't there for their own development, but to be there for the support and to give energy to the other person that is sitting for trance. And I love that idea. Now, that's not the situation in my circle, but I thought it was just such a beautiful thing that there are people out there that have a great interest in this, and yet they don't want to be the one developing. They don't want it for them, but they love to see the process, and they would love to be a supporter or a helper. So that's something that maybe in some circles, you may have those people that would be willing to do that.
Oh, yes. I mean, a lot of people that I talk to have those people that are there just, being the helpers,
Yes.
for them.
Vital.
Yeah. So I haven't really had much knowledge as far as with people here. Most times people want to develop themselves as well. So that's what I found so far. But yeah, I believe that. I love that Martin did bring that up. It is really amazing to have people like that to come in and sit just for you and sit with you. So that is really cool. So when you, in your group, when you guys first started, was there an area that you were focusing on? Some people are totally into trance healing, just for the philosophy. I mean, is there something or did you just allow it to come with whatever?
We kind of allowed it to come because I think for most of us, we didn't even know why the heck we were doing it, except that we wanted to do it.
Well, you're totally doing it.
Maybe the curiosity of it. I don't really know. Trance healing has not been really what we've focused on. I think we're kind of old school trance circle. Now I will say from my own personal experience, and I'm not going to talk about the experience of others in the circle, because that's theirs to tell, but I am willing to talk about mine. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not all been a bed of roses. From the way that I see it, I have really only worked with one person, one spirit person that's been here from the beginning. We call it the control. People may hear the term control. And I really didn't like him too much when he first started working with me. I thought he was a little crazy. His blending his energy with my energy was not a smooth transition. And I really didn't know if I liked him or wanted to work with him. Now, over the course of the past year, I've become very protective of him, and I love him in my own way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't know a lot about him yet. I think part of the reason that why I'm here talking to you today is to maybe get touch with those that are in the beginning stages, because like I said, I feel like I'm a baby with this.
Mm-hmm.
And to dispel the fear that goes with trance.
Yes.
Because I think there's a misconception about it. People think of trance as kind of like possession,
Mm-hmm.
that they possess your body. It's an overshadowing of their energy over your energy, where you're allowing it as the medium to happen. And it is not scary, and it is not uncomfortable. I have had the experience that working with the person that I'm working with has made me physically ill at times.
Wow.
And I've had to worry about that. I was sick for days in the beginning. As I've continued to work with him, it gets less and less duration of time. Mm-hmm. To now it might be a day. So I know things are getting better, but that could put some people off. I looked and looked for information about this, because nobody's talking about the fact that allowing the energies to blend, if their energy doesn't really jive well with your energy, and again, this is just my point of view, because I'm really not fully understanding it yet. Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot said or written about the possibility that you may feel unwell. Yes. After the trance experience. Now, it doesn't happen for me during, it's after. And it's not like I have to go to bed and lay in bed for days. I mean, I just feel a bit off. Yes. I'll call it feeling off. But I'm working with it. I'm not willing to throw in the towel. I want to keep working with the person that I'm working with, and see what it goes. The person I work with happened, when he was living, to be a physical mediumship, do physical. Mm-hmm. So there's a good possibility, or at least a possibility, that perhaps our circle will kind of change from trance and maybe start doing some physical mediumship. Mm-hmm. That perhaps that's where that's going, and that's why he's working with me. So maybe he's working with my energy to bring me to that level, to be physical mediumship. I really don't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of allowing it to unfold the way that it does. But there's nothing scary about it. It's actually quite beautiful. Mm-hmm. I do think it's important that once the identity of the person that you're working with has been revealed, and you may find that the person doesn't want to let you know for a long time, mm-hmm. Who they are, and that's okay. People get frustrated, like, I just want to know who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't. But once that person is revealed, or you figure out who you're working with, my opinion, the worst thing you can do is look them up and try to figure out about them, which is also the part that makes you crazy, because I know who my person is, and I so want to look him up, but I can't. And the reason that I can't is because I'm asking him. I have the people in my circle pose to him every time that I go into trance, please give us something that can be validated to prove that it is you that Lou Ann's working with. And so every time he will give a piece of evidence that someone else in the circle will look up. And then that way it gets validated further and further. And there's been, for me, probably 6 good, solid pieces of evidence that couldn't fit for anybody else. But if you look them up, I feel that it puts the information in your mind. And then when the information from the spirit comes through, you're going to be saying to yourself, is that something spirit's actually giving me, or is this something that I read?
And you know what? You're bringing this up on remembering speaking with Helen DeVita and
Mhm.
Isabel Duchenne, whose interview hasn't gone out yet, but they bring up this point, not on your own researching.
Oh, I
Don't.
know, and it's so hard not to.
Yes. But the validation will come from the people around you and other mediums. And that's when you get to find out more about them. And then that whole relationship will build from there. So
Yeah.
how you're like, oh, I want to look it up, but I can't do it. I just got to let it just come naturally. So that is real cool. But I want to bring up the fear. One of the biggest
Yes.
reasons I'm doing this is because, or doing the interviews is because there's so much fear around trans, and I want to push it back into the forefront. And
I agree.
yeah, and release the fear, because you know, if I talk to like 10 people, 8 of them are going to say, oh no, I'm so afraid of that. And I'm like, why? It's just so beautiful. And that's why I like, with the name of the group, it's sacred. To me, it's a sacred process. It's just like mental mediumship. It's just more closer, you know, it's just beautiful. And so I love that you are bringing that up again.
If anybody, I think what you're doing is beautiful, Kathy. I'm so proud of what you're doing and stepping outside your comfort zone and just letting spirit lead this group. And if anybody goes through the interviews, which you absolutely must do, if you're in this group, you really need to do that. You will not find a shred of fear in anybody that's doing this work.
Yeah.
Even for myself, saying that my journey it had bumps in the road. It still has bumps in the road, but I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. I absolutely trust the person I'm working with. So it's just, you know, our energies coming together to jive. And then I can't wait to see once we're able to get that to happen. And that could be years. You have to be patient with this. It's baby steps with it. This is not something that you hit the ground running with. Again, my opinion. But have a passion for it and give the time that this beautiful experience deserves. So it could be years down the road before my energy and his energy. He may leave. I don't know. Somebody else may come in to work with me. I really don't know what's going to happen. I'm excited for what can happen, but I'm not going to put any expectations on any of it.
And I love that, because you know what, when people share their experiences, how they're evolved, even with their trans, other people that are watching these interviews are going to get, like how you said, you know, you're experiencing these physical symptoms after you come out of trance, and trying to find out, I mean, is this normal? You know, trying just to find out information about what you might experience. There's not too much out there. You have somebody who knows. And so that's why here, having everybody come on, sharing the ups and downs, it's beautiful, because now then somebody in their own development, even as a beginner, can kind of look at these interviews and say, she experienced this. She's telling me this, that I might have this experience. And if I do, then I'll know that, oh, Lou Ann Beecher had the same experience. It's going to be great. It's going to
That's why we share. Yes.
And I know that when I was first researching, I had to jump around to so many different places. And sometimes the books are out, unless it obviously stated, you know, In Pursuit of Physical Mediumship, you know.
Reading it right now.
Yeah. And there's some books that, you know, they didn't have that title. So, I mean, I was just all over the place. So I figured, wouldn't it be great to have all this information in one place for the next trans medium or the future trans mediums and the ones that are working on it now, to have all these interviews and say, and you're right, you have to go through every interview, because everybody has something that you can learn in your
I
own
have learned from every single interview that I have watched in your group.
Me too.
And I think the other thing that you're creating, and I know that I've been talking about this for years in my, not trance mediumship, but in the regular mediumship, is that people that don't do this just don't understand. And you don't want to have to preface everything you talk about to get them comfortable so that you can speak. So really what you're doing is you're creating a safe space for people to pose questions, to ask things, to have somebody else there to say, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of that out there. So you're like a pioneer, Kathy. And you know, it's the beauty of technology though.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
You know,
And
we haven't had, when I started my mediumship journey in the late 90s, online classes and all this, you know, this Zoom and all that, none of that was available. So you had to find out however you found out, and a lot of times luck into it, which now there's a lot of information out there, but I don't think there's a lot about trance, and probably even less about physical mediumship. So this, what you're creating through the help of spirit guiding you is
yes.
absolutely wonderful.
Yes, no, I absolutely believe it's being guided, because it's like effortless, you know, with the people stepping forward, wanting to share their stories. And I think that, you know, within the group, there's so many people coming in to ask questions. And, you know, I'm not the only one answering. Everybody's coming in and answering their take on it. And I love it that because everybody has these different views and experiences.
Yes, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. So, but yeah, I'm so excited. I know we're just barely touching on things, on questions, but
right.
Oh my gosh. So I want to backtrack just a little bit.
Okay.
The control. What exactly is a control?
For me, it is the primary person in spirit that works with you. Now, as far as I know, only have had one person that I'm working with from the very beginning. Now, I was fortunate to go to Scotland this summer for the International Spiritualist Federation, does a convention every year. Phenomenal experience, never mind Scotland, but the group itself was great. They are going to be in Stony Point, New York next summer for anybody that's interested in this kind of development. One of the things that we did, one of the exercises in the class I did, was to allow a different person to work with you than what you're normally used to, your control.
Wow.
So I allowed I was able to let that happen. I have no idea who it was, nor does it matter. But somebody was working beautifully with me, blending with me, and all of a sudden the mediumship, it changed a bit. The energy changed. And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on, but this very smooth thing that was happening for me in the moment, which I was just relishing in the experience, all of a sudden it changed. It's not like it got creepy or scary or anything like that. It just changed. And so when I came out of the trance, and I was in a class with Robin Hodson, who's from the UK. And he said to me, did you feel at one point that you had two different spirit working with you? And it's like, I didn't make that connection in the moment, but now once he said it, I'm like, yes. Excuse me. It was like somebody else stepped in. He said, yeah, there was a little bit of a power struggle going on where my regular control was like, okay, she's been with you long enough and it's time for you to leave.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh,
and I'm glad that Robin picked up on that, because otherwise I would just thought that was kind of a weird, different energy at the end of that. But once he put the finger on it, yeah. So I guess my guy really likes me.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I remember texting you when you were over there, and it was like these long days that you're in this workshop, you know?
Yes.
Yeah,
we would go to breakfast, and then classes started at 9:30, and class would go till 1. Now they had a break in between. That class would go till 1, and then another class started at 2. And then that class would go till 5 or 5:30, I don't remember. And then you would have dinner. And then in the evening, they would have either workshops, or there was a demonstration of mediumship almost every night. There was a demonstration of spirit art. I mean, there was just some phenomenal things. There were 17 different countries represented.
Oh my
it was the most beautiful experience. I think I've had in my life. I just absolutely loved it. So you were really in class, aside from dinner breaks and tea breaks and that kind of thing, from 9:30 in the morning until 9:30 at night.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
a long
those long days. I didn't see much of Scotland.
Oh my goodness. And
I played hooky one morning, so and I walked around St. Andrews.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That must have been an amazing experience. And
It was
guy,
far beyond anything I could have hoped or dreamed for.
yeah. And then for you to have all of a sudden, again, I'm going to go back a little bit, start with the mental mediumship circle, it evolved to trance. And then you got on this other journey, having to go to Scotland to participate and learn more about it. And now you're back and you're still doing your weekly circles. I want to backtrack one more time.
Okay.
We were talking about the blending, what was happening with the blending. So I actually want to bring up, and I always ask this question because I want everybody's interpretation of it, about sitting in the power. Some people don't actually call it that.
Right.
Is that important? Is that what do you find that important in your search?
I do. Okay. I do find it important. I think you need to sit. For me, sitting in the power is sitting. It's like sitting with the spark of the divine of God that's in you. And it allows you to get to know your own energy and your own self. Because once you know your own energy and your own self, there you can notice when other energy comes in. Yes. The way that I've described it, in terms of just our own life, most people, if they know their mother and their father, understand the energy of their mother that's different from the energy of their father. And when their mother might, transitions to spirit, you know what that energy feels like. So therefore you can notice when mom comes close because you feel that energy. So by sitting in the power, you get to know your own energy, which either in mental mediumship or in trance mediumship allows you to notice when there's a different energy around because it's not your own energy. It also, I think it's important to sit in your power at least once a week. I don't think it should be a daily practice. And I learned this from Mavis Patilla.
And I know you studied with Mavis as well.
Yes, I have studied with Mavis and Tony Stockwell and James Von Prague and Sharon Klingler and Lisa Williams. And I've had the opportunity, I've just had some amazing, Richard Scholler, Robin Hodson. There isn't one of them that I don't love.
Oh, wow.
They all gave me a piece of themselves, which has allowed me to put this all together to allow me to be the medium that I am. So I'm a piece of all of them.
Oh my goodness.
But Mavis was the one that said that this should not be a routine practice. This should be something special and sacred. And that sitting in the power doesn't have to be a 3-hour marathon meditation event. It's a leaving the outside and going within and being with that spark of the divine that's within you. And then she recommends another time during the week, stepping into the spirit world, working with the spirit world, saying, how can I serve you, spirit? And saying to spirit, I'm struggling with this. What can you do to help me? Because really it's about honoring spirit and the spirit world. Because the truth is, you're going to go there someday. And you're going to have to meet and see these people that have been assisting you and working with you on the earth plane. And you want to go there feeling proud of what you gave to them and not feeling like you have to hang your head down and be like, I'm really sorry. I really didn't serve you well when I was on the earth. Now that's me. So I work for spirit. I don't work for people.
Yeah. I love how you said it though. I really, really love how you said that.
I love people and I'm here to help people. and I've known since I was a little girl that my purpose is to serve people. I serve people, I have compassion for people, but I work for spirit.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it.
Yeah. No, I believe that. I absolutely believe it, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So do you know, when you sit in the, do you sit in the power in your circle? Is there something that, or do you just, I mean, do you do that? Okay.
We don't. We have in the past when we were more about mental mediumship than the trance. But now we do the healing first, and then we already know who's going into trance that night because we've now made an appointment. And so it's a pretty smooth transition. We're finding that the time that we're sitting in circle in trance is longer. So we have 2 each night. Mm-hmm. Now we're finding we're going over on time.
Wow.
So what we're doing is we're making sure that we're here on time and starting on, because we tend to get caught up. We're people, you know, we get caught up with our life stories and talking and that kind of thing. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's a half an hour. We need to get started. And now the circle's going over a half hour, 45 minutes. So we're going to try that. We're going to try to be good managers of our time and still try to get 2 people in. And if that doesn't work, we may have to go to 1 person each week going into trance.
But you know what? Every person that I've talked to, they say that in the beginning, when they first start their circle, they spend time talking, because by that talking and chatting, you're actually lifting the energy up. So
yes. But sometimes we do that. We lift energy a little too long.
Oh my goodness, okay, so so let's go back to the blending.
Okay.
How did it feel for you when he first came, your control first came, if you can remember?
Yes. Oh, I can remember.
Okay.
It's always been a process. So we started in July, and I really wasn't sure how it was supposed to work. And some people were already going into trance. I think there's some people that's just their gift. Mm-hmm. Like they sit in trance circle and boom, they're in. I think that's that way with regular mediumship, and that there are people that is their sole purpose, and they don't really have to develop, and they just are that. Mm-hmm. Then there's others of us that have to develop it. So some were already going into trance, which was fine, and they were talking about their experiences. So for me, the first time I noticed the blending, I actually felt like I couldn't get enough air in my lungs, and it kind of scared me a little bit, because it was a different feeling. But I felt like I couldn't get enough air is the only way I can describe it. There was this like air hunger, I'll call it. That was like, and my breathing got, now what I think it really was part of trance, and what happens with the physical body is that your breathing naturally slows down. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to use, for example, if you take 8 breaths a minute, you may, and this is, I'm just using these as numbers. That's not the exact numbers. I don't want somebody to think, oh, I don't take that many breaths. I'm just using 8 as a random number. So if you're taking 8 and then all of a sudden it drops down to 4, it's going to feel different in your body. So the way that it felt or manifested for me was this, I can't get enough air, I can't breathe kind of a feeling, which pulled me out a bit. And then I worked through that, and it's like, okay, so the next time I went in and I got that feeling, I just allowed it instead of getting freaked out by it. I'm like, okay, let's just allow it and see what happens. Obviously, I'm not going to die, you know, I'm going to pass out before I die. So, you know, nothing really horrible is going to happen here. So I got accustomed to the breathing, and then what happened next was, and this is over a period of time, I had heart racing. Like all of a sudden my heart was like boom, 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 boom. And again, that tended to pull me out. So it took a few more sessions to kind of get through that. Then I didn't have that feeling with the breathing anymore, and I didn't have that feeling with the heart racing. But I really wasn't noticing how the blending was happening. And it's interesting because at one point I was sitting and I had this thought in my head that said, say the Lord's Prayer. Now, I was raised Methodist, and I've known the Lord's Prayer since I was probably 5 years old. Backwards, forwards, inside out, I can say the Lord's Prayer. So I started saying it, and I said it, and I went through it, and I'm like, okay, I'm at the end. Okay, start again. And our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And I got about halfway through, maybe the third time, and all of a sudden it was like, I can't remember the next line. So I had to stop. It's like something about trespassing, or I don't know. So I started again. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. You know, going through it now slower than I'm doing it right now. But I noticed as every time I kept starting over, it was closer and closer to the beginning of the prayer that I just couldn't remember it. And what Spirit was showing me is that I was allowing myself to let go. I was allowing myself to step into that place that would allow Spirit to blend more easily with me. But they had to give it to me because my left brain, has to be logical for me. Showing me in that way that I was letting go. Because I would think in my head, I'm not afraid, please come closer, I allow whatever's happened, you know, those thoughts are going in as I'm trying to relax and go in myself, move myself out of the way to make a space for Spirit to step in. So that's how it went for a while. My control comes through and has come through for a very long time with a very cheesy grin on his face when he's there, which made everybody want to crack up laughing apparently. But it's kind of a Cheshire cat kind of a grin. I haven't seen it obviously, so I don't know what it looks like, but apparently it's quite funny. So that's how it would start. No speaking, no none of that. And then there was a period of time where some were speaking, I was not. And somebody said, you know, just start talking randomly and then allow Spirit to kind of take over your voice. And I couldn't do it. I spent so much time in my conscious mind being like, well, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Well, you know, it didn't work for me. I will tell you the first time that I really let go was the first time I sat in a cabinet. Because we had been sitting in circle in like you would do a meditation circle or a mediumship circle. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. You too. We have the same tickle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things when Spirit comes in and starts like blending me away, I get this tickle in my throat. So actually, Robin Hodson had come to Maryland as part of promotion for the International Spiritualist Federation, and he offered a trance class. So I took this class. So there were probably 30 in the class, and I think I was close to the last person to go into trance. And there was something about being in the cabinet. First of all, what made a difference for me was the chair had arms on it, which we set, like the chair I have now, just a back and a seat, but no place to put your arms. So when I first sat in there, and my arms were kind of supported by the arms of the chair, there was something about that just felt right. So maybe for those people that are developing and you don't have arms on the chair, just try a chair that has arms on it. It might be a simple thing like that allows you to relax more and maybe go in deeper. Sitting in the cabinet under a red light, when I closed my eyes, I was the only way that I can describe it, I was kind of teleported into what I would consider outer space. It was blackness, and I saw sparkles. And I had been trying in the past in my own development circle, trying to allow Spirit to come in the way that others in the circle had experienced it, which they were talking about. For them, it was either coming in from the side, or they were their own self energy was kind of pushing to the back of their body to allow Spirit to kind of come in and take that space. So the first thing I noticed when I sat in the cabinet is my lips got numb, which is now a sign for me that the blending has started.
Wow.
My lips get tingly and then kind of numb. And then I noticed it in my legs. All of a sudden, my legs got very heavy, and it's almost like, it felt like spirit sat into me, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
It's almost like he had his back to me, and then the energy like put his feet in my feet, and then the blending happened like up my legs, up my torso, and then I just felt it.
Wow.
And I felt very heavy, but very comfortable. I was so comfortable, and I was so peaceful, and it was just fantastic. And in that session, I did speak for the first time.
Oh my goodness.
And someone recognized who the soul was, and so they asked for a name, and he gave it. So the cat was out of the bag, and so I knew who I'd been working with for at that time maybe 8 months.
That sounds like an amazing experience.
It was, and it still is. Yeah. And I'm going to be the first to admit, it kind of weirded me out a lot in the beginning, because I really didn't know what was happening, and we were going into trance at different times as far as how long we had been going into it. Happened at different, like one guy was in quite quickly, he could go into trance. But for myself, it's just been a longer, slower process. And then I got to the point, I'm still in awe every time it happens, watching someone else go into trance. And I realize that that's my friend, my person that I love sitting in the chair, and there's somebody else there. It's like there's two people there. And that it's somebody from the spirit world that's actually sitting within 3 or 4 feet of me. And I'm so in awe of it, and I'm so amazed by it. And it's a kind of magic for me that I don't know, I just love it. I do love it.
So do you feel like all of a sudden this has like, you become, and I think we talked about it before, like because I feel like I'm completely into everything. I'm researching, learning, experiencing, and it's like come to the forefront for me.
Yes, and I'm finding that books and are like coming in my path. I'm not looking for them, and then all of a sudden my eye will get drawn to something. Or there was when I was in Scotland, there are 2 ladies from Arthur Findlay College, and I apologize, I don't remember their name right now, but they did a little webinar.
Yes, Sharon Harvey.
Yes,
is one, and I think I'm going to be interviewing her.
Oh, wonderful!
Yes, and
wonderful.
So
they have a lot of experience. I had never heard of them, but it just so happened that their webinar was on our lunch break. So we ran up to the room and we watched this little webinar, and they're going to be offering some classes on trance and physical. I think trance healing is the other part. But I don't know is that I'm just noticing it now because it's in the forefront of my own mind, or is spirit bringing it to me because now I'm stepping in next level? And really, does it matter how it's happening?
No, but you know what? I kind of feel like spirit is bringing it to you, though. Like everything is just being laid in front of you.
Yes,
you're supposed to. Because when I think back about your first experience of going to go see that medium, and you're going to prove her wrong, and then she delivers this beautiful message to you, and now look at you now. Here you are. You're into trance, and it's evolving to physical mediumship. So I'm, a lot of people that I've talked with, the stories are very similar. They start out, I'm not going to do that, and next thing you know, they're doing it.
You know what? And your mind and your soul come to accept it when they're ready.
Yes.
Now, Irene Nederman, this was like such a full circle moment for me. Irene Nederman was just a medium that I loved once she started working with me. And I'm sure she talked about Gordon Higginson and all these people. Sorry, Gordon Higginson. And she studied under Gordon Higginson, which I'm sure she mentioned to me, but at that time I knew absolutely nothing about this. So Gordon Higginson was just a name, and I probably went, yeah, okay, that's nice. Now I'm in awe of all of it. And when I met Mavis Patilla, she reminded me a lot of Irene. So we kind of asked her, and I know the UK's, you know, good sized place, and just because they're both from England doesn't mean they know each other. But when I talked to Mavis, she knew Irene and had studied with Irene, and oh my Irene, and it was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Wow.
So they were all brought into my life for a purpose that is much greater than me.
Yes.
I'm just a mom and a grandmom. I worked in a bar for 14 years. I worked in a bank for 18 years. I'm just your ordinary next door neighbor. But my soul is a different person than who my human person is.
Yes.
So it's just, I'm always in awe. I've been so blessed to have some amazing mediums come into my life that I absolutely admire and trust. Yeah. I've had some that have come in that I've not resonated with. That doesn't mean that there isn't anything wrong with them. They're just not my teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and even doing my own teaching now with Lillian Suarez, Lillian and I, you know, you study with both of us. We are complete opposites. Our personalities are different. Where we come from is different. How we see mediumship is different. But I do truly believe that God brought us together because we're like two opposing people that when you put us together, we make an amazing whole.
Yes.
And I can't imagine my life without her.
Oh, no. Yeah, you guys are a great team. Great, great team. Oh, my goodness. You know, I wanted to bring up, you talked about the cabinet and your experience in the cabinet. Have you incorporated a cabinet in your circle, or have you always used, you know, has a cabinet? You guys
not always used a cabinet.
Okay.
When we started working in Trance, when we made the decision, before we had a mentor, we didn't have any flipping idea what we were doing. We got somebody that donated a 35 millimeter slide projector, and I bought some blank slides, and we cut out gel paper in different colors, and we would try blue light and yellow light and red light. Now we heard that red light was the right one, but you know, being the experimenters and the like, we're gonna prove something different here. We tried all different colors, and then we just sat to sit for Trance sake. We kind of got rid of the light thing and all that. Then when I did the Trance class with Robin, and had my experience in the cabinet, we're still perfecting the red light. We're still perfecting the space that we work in, but I'm fortunate enough to have another room that's a Reiki room. So we've blacked out the window there to try and make it as dark as we can. Not that I think you have to have black to do it, but with working with the red light, I think it does make it easier to see if there's any transfiguration that's happening. So that's why we black it out, more for the benefit of the red light to work. So yeah, we bought one of those, which I think a lot of people are using, the little pop-up porta potties, little tents that you can buy. You know what I'm talking about, with the zipper on it, the flap goes up. Yeah, some people call it changing rooms, but yeah, I think mine is like Porty Potty or something kind of brand. I don't know. It makes me laugh, but they work perfect.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Oh my God. Okay, so that's good to know. And I like.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, I think you can buy them if you watch. I think I paid less than $40 for mine.
Yeah. They're pretty cheap, but so when you first had that experience being in a tent for the first time, the energy was the energy much stronger?
Yes.
You noticed that? Okay.
Yes. Now, luckily for me, Robin guided us through it, and it's interesting because I know he was speaking to me in English, and he has a British accent, and I could hear his voice, but the words sounded like another language, like they were garbled or whatever. But there was something about the energy of his voice that resonated for me. And so I was very comfortable in just allowing to happen what happened. Now, he did guide us about expanding our aura. So you kind of feel it hit the sides of the tent is the best way I can describe it. So this is how I do it.
Okay.
I go out, so I'm going up and out until I feel that my aura fills the space that I'm in.
Okay.
And then I push out. And I don't know why I do that, but that's what seems to work for me. I push the aura out. So it hits, and then I go like forward. Now the front of the cabinet is obviously open, so other people in the circle can see. So I don't know what's really happening at that point, but it just happens to be what works for me, so that's what I do, and that's why I'm sharing it. The other thing that we really haven't talked about is music.
Yes.
And finding a piece of music. So thank you, Spirit, for bringing that up. We found a piece of music that we all agreed on in our circle. So after we do our healing, we play that piece of music. And it does kind of help you get in that space. And then when somebody sits in the cabinet, we play the music again. Now it's not your normal song. What I will tell you as far as the guidance that I have in picking a piece of music is do not choose one that you're going to hear on the radio. Do not choose one that you like to listen to often. There's a gentleman, I think he's Norwegian, or it might be Dutch, I'm not sure. That's named Peter B. Helland. It's Peder B. Helland. And I love his music, but I play it all the time. So I don't want playing his music to be a trigger for me to go into trance when I'm not ready to. So I found a piece of music we all agreed on. We listened to probably 20 different pieces of music. Probably took us 3 weeks to choose a piece. And that was in the beginning of our trance experience. And it's kind of eerie and creepy if you listen to it, but it's violin, cello, kind of creepy, eerie is the best way. But there's something about the energy of the music that pulls you in. And for me, I feel like I almost become the music. Wow. I'm not listening to the music. I am the music.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah. So it's that I'm blending with the music, which almost opens the door and gives permission to spirit to also become one with me as I am with the music. So that's how it works for me. Now, what we did begin to notice is that because we're all using the same piece of music, we have to be very aware when the one person is in the cabinet going into trance, that as we're playing the music, that we're not starting to go into trance too. Because I found myself, last week it was my week and another person's week to go into trance. I went into trance first, and then I played the music for her, and as I'm playing it, because it's my week to go into trance, I could feel myself like starting to get sleepy. So I had to be like, no, you had your turn. No.
I'm going to tell you, it always happens in the interviews because I always have my list of questions, but spirit knows, and it just comes out. And so I'm like,
they're looking over your shoulder and putting thoughts in my head about what I need to talk about.
And I'm like, oh, she answered. I was about to ask her. She answered it. Oh my God. So I'm so glad you brought up the music. Can I ask you, how long after sitting in your circle, or how long did you start before you started to experience phenomena in your circle, whatever that phenomena might be? Or before, you started speaking? Was it like 10 months, or?
Okay, so we started in July. Okay. The first time I spoke was when I was in the workshop with Robin, which was March. And then I think I didn't speak the next 2 times I went into trance. And here's the other thing to think about too. At least that's been my experience. I don't speak every time. Okay. And I've had other people that have spoken before that there might be a time they don't speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I think spirit is that control is working with your energy or working on something in you that needs assistance. And so they're working on that. So it is possible to have spoken and then go into trance and not speak, at least from my experience. I speak quite regularly now when I go into trance, and I'm not totally unaware. Maybe that's another thing to talk about.
Yes, yes.
I am aware that I am speaking. I'm aware of my thoughts as I'm going in. Then I get the numb lips. Mm-hmm. Then I start to feel the heaviness in my legs. And then I guess I call it daydreaming, or kind of my mind goes to another place. I'm aware that I'm speaking, and yet I'm not aware of what I'm saying. So by that, I mean, I recognize the words. Mm-hmm. So if I would say, the house is red, I would see it in my mind as the word the word house, the word is, the word red, but they're not connected to make a sentence. Mm. They're just words. So even though I'm aware, when I come out of trance, I'm aware that I spoke, mm-hmm. and I'm aware of some of the words that may have come up. Mm-hmm. I'm not really aware of the connected message or what was said. So that's how it works for me. I'm not completely, it's not like I take a nap and wake up.
Yes. And you know what? A lot of people say that sometimes they have a slight awareness of what is expressed or the way you're describing it. And some people absolutely have no recall whatsoever. And then
right, exactly.
Because they're like right here, and or how they describe it. And sometimes they're like gone. They don't even know where they're at.
Right.
So it really depends.
I've not had that experience yet, but I can tell you that every time I go into trance, I'm a little bit less aware of what's happening. Now, my physical body, unaware of it all. Okay. I've had times that I've come out of trance with a stiff neck, because apparently my neck was this way the whole time. So they've had to tell my control, watch the neck, because, and I think he's kind of like, oh yeah, the darn neck,
Oh my goodness. You know what, Lou, I'm going to tell you right now, all the things that this is a different interview, but it's a very important interview, because what you're sharing and how you're describing your experiences. I get a lot of people asking me questions, messaging me, hey, can you ask this question next? Or, can you bring this up? And like I said, it is guided by spirit. And so what's happening is every person that comes next shares what's being asked of me. And you're doing it because people want to know more about the personal experience. How does it feel? Where do you go? And have someone share this, and to the detail that you're sharing it is so important, because I'm sitting here going, oh my God. I got to remember.
And you know what, Kathy? It's possible that that's why we're doing this interview now, is because I am still a baby. Yeah. So I am still experiencing these things that if I was at a place that I went to sleep and then woke up after trance and had no awareness of what was going on, I would have less experiences to share. Yeah. But because I'm still in it, and still in those infancy stages of trance, I think it's still very fresh in my mind.
Oh, and it's perfect, because I don't just want to interview people that have been doing it for 30 years and
but I love those people.
But I love it. But I wanted to talk with people that are still starting their journey. Mm-hmm. And what they're experiencing so far, because it gives that person that's going to start their journey like, oh my God, okay, so I might have this to look forward to. I've only been sick for 2 months.
Right.
I don't know when that's going to happen. No expectation. It could happen a year. It could happen 5 years. But every person I've talked to has one thing in common. Absolutely one thing. And they are passionate. It's so important.
I think that's really important, and you got to be in it for the long haul.
Yes. And you know what? Every once in a while I'm talking to get these goosebumps, and it's so important to have passion if you want to develop commitment, dedication, but passion. And it has to be sacred. There's something.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I will say, I think it's okay to have doubts and not be sure in the beginning.
Yes.
Because that's how you come to the place of, is this for me or is this not for me?
Yes.
And my experience has been, I've had one control, but I will tell you, for the others in the group, they've had different people that step in. So know that be patient with the person that you're supposed to be working with primarily may not come in for a while and may not come in for a couple years, and just allow the process. Be grateful for every little thing. There's not one time I've gone into trance or witnessed somebody in trance that I didn't take some nugget of amazing information away from it. So every experience is precious and sacred.
You know, I interviewed Ariel Renee, and I think it was early on, and she was still waiting for her person, but what she shared, and you know, and like I said, I wanted to have people at different levels, but the way she was like, I'm still waiting for my person, and it was so, I just loved having her, and
I love her anyway. You know that.
Yeah, I do. Oh my goodness. So, oh my God, I'm just so.
Yeah, Ariel's like a daughter to me. I'm that close with her. I absolutely love her. I've been working with Ariel for probably 3 years.
Wow.
And I learned so much from her. She's young and she's magic, soulful. There's something angelic about her that you can't quite put a finger on.
Her energy.
And you know, just like all of us, she's had her own struggles in life, and she's had her own struggles with spirituality and what's going on in her own, you know, we have struggles with people. Not everybody that does this work is doing it for the right reason. Not everybody that's doing this work is not okay with their own journey and wants to judge yours. I hate to say that happens, but it does. And it, as Lillian and I say, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Do your thing. If you're doing what you're doing with ethics and responsibility and with love, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. You know, and your lane may not be the same as somebody else's lane.
No,
that's okay.
That is absolutely okay. So
Ariel's still waiting. It's getting there.
She's in your circle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I knew it. Oh my God.
Yeah. She's in my Tuesday circle.
Oh my goodness. How exciting. So I finally got one person. Now I got you in it as well, and sharing your experiences. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this. And I know I'm kind of a little bit all over the place with this, but did you find that, and I know we talked about a little bit about intention, intention, protection, and prayer. Is that important?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think intention is important for so many things, and having studied with me, you know, I really stress intention. For me, intention is kind of the spark that gets the fire going. It's the ignition for whatever's going to follow after. So I think intention is important. Prayer is a personal thing. I do the prayer of protection because I love it. Not that I feel I have to be guarded from negative energies and that kind of thing. I do prayer because it makes me feel at peace. It brings me into that place. I call it God. Other people call it other things. Divine spark, whatever you want to call it. The universe. It brings me in touch with the God source within me and saying prayer. There's in fear with trance and in any of this work, even with mediumship or psychic work, people have this fear that of attachments and negative things coming in and all that kind of stuff. Here's my understanding of it. If you are tapping into your God source and you are that spark of light and you are shining brightly in the way that we want to, what is dark is not going to be attracted to that. Because as soon as the dark hits your light, it's no longer dark anymore. The dark is going to want to stay in the darkness. They are going to be attracted to people that like being in the dark. And there's people that do like being in the dark.
Yeah.
They love that, and good for them, not for me. So if you are that bright light, if you are that shining star, whatever's dark or negative is just going to look at you and go, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
But I do think intention is important. Is prayer important? It's important to me. Is it important to somebody else? Yeah. Protection. Is it, you sneak saw me do it. I didn't realize I was on the thing before we got started, and I'm doing my protection and I'm grounding. And I didn't even know that Kathy could see me. I said, see, there's proof that I actually do it.
Oh, my God.
For me, it's important. And here's my thing with grounding. The deeper you go with your grounding and with your roots, the higher you can go with your vibration. And somebody explained it to me in this way, and I think that works for me. Think about a skyscraper.
Mm-hmm.
The taller the building, the deeper the footings have to be in the ground in order to balance and stabilize the building. It's the same way with energy. The higher in vibration that you want to go, the deeper into the earth you have to ground yourself. So it's almost like this cantilever of as above, so below. You go. So if you go this high, that's fine. If you want to go higher, if you do this and you don't go down deeper, that's when you come out of it and you feel what I call woo-woo head. You feel lightheaded, you feel not yourself, you feel disconnected. That can happen if you're not doing the grounding also. Again, my opinion. Now, if that happens, a little bowl of salt water, put your fingers in, can help. And my favorite way of coming back to earth is to eat a piece of good dark chocolate. Not the milk chocolate, it doesn't work. You need like the high cacao or cacao, whatever you call it. If you eat that, that's a very grounding, dense thing. Actually, eating itself, drinking water, hydrating, can help you get rid of the woo-woo head.
I actually incorporated that once you told me about that. And so it actually does work beautifully.
Yeah, salt bath's wonderful after trance.
Oh, yeah. So let me ask you this. And this is, I do ask this from everybody. Did you have to give permission to blend with spirit the first time? Did you have to do that? Or it was just, you didn't even think about it and it just happened? Or was that intention already set there?
Intention is already set.
Okay.
I am a big believer in asking permission.
Okay.
I believe in regular mediumship, when I have a sitter, I don't care if they've set an appointment. I don't care if they've signed a contract. I don't care about any of it. People sometimes are still coming into it with fear or apprehension. So I always ask my sitter right before I start reading, are you comfortable? Are you okay? Do I have your permission to bring your loved ones in? I think that's important. Because maybe at that last minute they go, I don't think I'm ready. I think I'm still too much in grief. I don't know if I can handle it emotionally. And that's perfectly fine. You give them permission to say, let's maybe try another time, come back in 3 months. I think it's the same with the spirit people. Maybe a soul wants to work with you. But maybe when it comes down to the right moment of the blending to happen, that soul is maybe apprehensive, or maybe they feel, maybe it's not the right person, maybe it's not the right energy, but by giving them permission to blend with you, you're also giving them permission to not blend with you. And that soul might be feeling, she set the intention, but is she or he, whoever the medium is, really ready for this? Because if I'm having my own fears, I might go, set the intention, but in my conscious mind, I'm like, whoa, I don't know about this. So by giving permission, you're allowing, and not giving it allows you to say, I'm not ready. So I'm a firm believer in permission with everything.
You know, when you're speaking, what happens is, you know, I've done so many interviews and I get pushed to, wow, okay, I remember so-and-so talking about this too. And the way everybody describes it, it's like, these are important things to bring up. You know, like somebody said that, I think it was Isabel, I'm not quite sure who said this, but Spirit, somebody was trying to work on transfiguration in their circle. And they wondered why they weren't having that experience. And Spirit finally came through another medium and said, it's because you told us that you did not ever want to see, you know, I guess she had this experience when she had been 8 years old. 8 years old. And she said,
be careful of your words.
Yes. And so we didn't do this because you told us when you were 8 that you did not ever want to see that again. And so it made me think, and she had to redo her intentions after that, and then give that permission, because she just didn't remember, well, what did I say when I was 15, you know, when she was trying to develop more into the physical part. So it does make you think that you really do have to give permission. You really do, because you never know exactly what you said when you were younger, waiting for an experience. So
yes, and like with transfiguration, you know, some of this stuff is like, it's a very fine line of what makes it the magic happen. I know with transfiguration, if you're using red light, sometimes it's the level of the red that you have. The red light, again, just my experience, but the red light can be too bright. So putting a dimmer on it and allowing you to lower the red light sometimes helps you to be able to see it. And just because you're seeing it doesn't mean it's not happening. But really, for it to be physical mediumship, everybody in the room needs to see it.
Yeah.
Everybody has to see it. It's not like one person can see it. Or if one person says, oh, I think I see a Native American, and another person says, oh, I think I see a mustache, but not everybody seeing it in the room. It might just be your own perception, the angle that you're sitting at, even around in the circle when you're sitting in front of the cabinet. If somebody's over here and somebody's over here, your angle is different, which might give you a different way of seeing the energy. You might just be seeing the energy, because Spirit will use the energy. And some people in the circle will be, I think somebody else has called it this too, but we call it a battery, which they're using your power when you're sitting in a trance circle. Thank you, Spirit. Another thing that we need to talk about, and I don't want this interview to go 5 days long, but there's so many wonderful things to talk about.
Everything's perfect.
If you're the person not in the cabinet or not going into trance, you need to be lending or giving your energy to the person that's sitting in the cabinet. Again, this gets back to what we talked about earlier, is this isn't about you. Trance is not about you. It's about supporting the other people in the circle and to being a channel for Spirit to be able to use you. None of this is about you.
I like how you mentioned battery, to be used as a battery, you know?
Yes. And what we've started to notice, and this is only the last 2 times we're going into trance that we've noticed, the people that are in the circle that Spirit is using as the battery or pulling more power from tend to get very sleepy. All of a sudden they can't keep their eyes open. You're listening, but you can't listen with your eyes open because you just feel very tired. They're using the battery. As soon as that person comes out of trance, bam, you're awake again.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's what's happening in our circle.
Wow. Yeah.
It may or may not happen in yours.
Talked about that I don't think we have in any of them interviews so far. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah. That's what's happening in our circle.
In your circle. I know we talked about, did we talk about the side effects of what you might be experiencing?
We kind of touched on it a little bit. my experience is that the person I'm working with, I think, because there's, again, not a lot written about this, our energies not blending is causing me to feel ill after. The first few times that I went into trance, when I went into trance in the circle with Robin, I was fine that day. And then over the next few days, I kept feeling less well and less well, which I just put up to, oh, I picked up a bug somewhere or whatever. Again, not an illness that I felt like I needed to be in bed. I wasn't running a fever. I just felt the best way I can describe it, and the only way I know this is because I've been there before, is I feel hungover.
Oh my goodness.
I've had a hangover before, so yeah, I know what that feels like. I felt hungover. And then the next time I went into trance, I had it again. Same experience. Again, I just chalked it up to, yeah, I picked up something. I have my 2 5-year-old grandsons with me during the day, except they now started kindergarten, but they would go to camp or daycare or whatever, and they always bring some kind of funky thing home. So I just kind of chalked it up to that. And then I've had, so when I was in Scotland, I had, only way I can describe it is a sore solar plexus. It felt like I'd been punched in the gut, or that I had done too many sit-ups. I vaguely remember what that feels like because I haven't done a sit-up in forever. But when I used to do them, and you get that sore muscle feeling across your stomach, that's what it felt like. I think it's because of that my control was using the energy of the other people in the circle. And so it was coming into my solar plexus, so it felt sore, I think. I don't really know. I've had twice that I vomited about an hour after trance. And then the last time I went into trance, when I came out of it, I had a raging headache and my ears kept popping. Like, you know, when you come down out of an airplane and you have that, they feel full and then they pop. I kept having that. Now, what I will say is good about it is that where it used to last for 5 or 6 days, now maybe it's a day that it lasts. So it's getting better. It's not to the point that it's making me want to throw in the towel. And I went through this thing of, is it psychological? Am I making myself ill because of a fear inside me of trance that I'm not consciously recognizing? I went through that period. But I will say that the person that I'm working with while I was in trance said to the group that it grieves him that our collaboration is making me feel unwell. So that's what makes me kind of go, it's probably not psychological, but I had to address it in myself, because if that's the situation, I think I had to deal with it in a different way than, it's something I feel like I would have had to deal with on a subconscious level, instead of just kind of allowing things to move and progress as they will. And I imagine in time, it won't bother me at all. That's the hope.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I remember us chatting back and forth. I was reaching out to some people, asking them, what are the side effects? I mean, is this a side effect? Is it going to, eventually ease off? And then it dawned on me just now, I have a Facebook group where I could just post and ask the question.
Anybody else throw up after they go into
Can people share their experiences? Did you have this or that experience? I'm gonna absolutely do it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was quite nauseous. The 2 times that I got sick, I was quite nauseous. After, but I didn't think I was going to get sick. And once I got sick, I was fine.
You're fine. Wow.
But I think it's just the energies. You can even, I don't think it's so noticeable now, or at least I'm not noticing it, but you could hear, when your stomach grumbles and growls after you've eaten, I would have that feeling. Now I will say, the first time that I got sick, I didn't know I was going to go into trance that night, and I had eaten a full dinner. So it could have been from that.
Could have been.
So that would be another one of my recommendations if I'm throwing something else at people is if you know you're going to be going into trance, eat lightly.
Eat lightly.
You don't want to go into it so hungry that all you can think about is I'm starving right now, but maybe eat some toast and have just or a sandwich. Don't eat a full meal. I had eaten a full meal that night, not realizing I was going to be going into trance. And that's part of another reason why we started scheduling it. It's putting it out to the spirit world earlier, that inviting them, giving permission for them to work with you the next night, but it's also allowing you to pay more attention to your physical body, to be like, oh, I'm doing trance tonight, so I'm going to eat after. I like a nice bowl of ice cream after trance, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Salted caramel is the best.
The best. Oh my goodness. So when you were talking about watching one of your loved ones, somebody that you were close to, go into trance, the experiences or to what you could observe somebody going into trance with, like earlier before we started the recording, I saw you going into your prayer and all that. But and you didn't know I was there, you couldn't see.
No, I didn't know.
I'm watching you, and I'm seeing this amazing shift of energy. And in all my interviews, I get sidetracked a lot because all of a sudden I'll see like sword fly there, or I'll swear there's somebody standing right there because I see that. And I think I actually got to sit for Isabel Duchenne. It was absolutely amazing to see the shift of energy. I mean, if I could look at you right now, Lou, your whole body outline was doing some weird energy shifting. I wish I had got it on I wish we were.
Oh, when I was opening up and talking to my guy and saying, you know, you're part of this interview too. I'm asking you to come close, but I don't want to go into trance in the interview.
Yes. And I always feel, this is the interesting part, is I always feel, I just call it the guide, your person there. And so I'm always paying I'm in awe sometimes because I can see the shift. I can see that your person's there or feel that energy. So when you were observing your loved one, your friend going into trance, or even in your circle, are there signs that you see that they're doing? Can you talk about that?
Yes, I can talk about that. So one of the things, remember I talked about earlier about feeling like I couldn't get enough breath.
Yes.
And that's because the breathing of the medium will start to slow down. So they'll be taking less breaths per moment, or their breathing can start to look shallow. Now, these are things that I want to observe because I want to speak to the soul that's working with the medium, and I have to know when that soul is there as best I can. And we invite too, talk about asking permission. If you're observing and that medium, I call it catching, has caught the soul, there's something that changes in them that you know they've blended. You're also saying, welcome friend, we welcome you into the circle. We're so happy you're here. So you're also kind of encouraging that blending to take place. The other thing you'll notice, eyelids. Sometimes you close your eyes, you get that like the fluttering underneath. All of a sudden the eyelids become very still. Wow. You don't see that fluttering. This is my experience and observation. Okay. Then I look for what I call catching, my technical term, catching. All of a sudden my stomach's going, it's like, yes. The grumbling I'm talking about, yeah, that's what I'm getting right now. There's just something, and the more you sit with the same person, the easier it becomes to tell when the blending has happened. So I call it catching. Oh, they've caught the spirit, which means the blending has happened. And so for me, apparently I have the Cheshire grin smile. So as soon as they start speaking, I will give the smile. Not me, the spirit will give the smile. There's another one in our circle that has a different smile, but has like a nice smile when she's blended. So as soon as we start talking and saying, oh, we're so glad you're here, welcome friend, we're excited to have you, a lot of times you'll see that smile before the speaking starts. The person that I'm working with has talked about having trouble making my voice box work. And I've been told that like my breathing and my speaking are not, like we kind of breathe and speak at the same time. It's a natural thing that in between words where we suck in air and then use that breath to speak more words, that he has difficulty with my physical body getting the breathing and the voice box in sync. So apparently what more happens with me when I'm speaking is there's an inhale of breath and then the words come out, and then it has to stop and an inhale of breath and the words come out. Now, I don't know because I'm not yet ready to hear myself recorded. I think I'm getting there. I think I'm almost ready. But
amazing.
I'm just not quite there yet, and I'm ready for it.
And that would have been another question would be, are you recording everything? Are you?
We are not, but we're talking about needing to start because the stuff that's coming out is profound.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely.
This is one of those you can't make that up moment.
Yes, no, I love hearing about philosophy. I mean, if I'm hooked on anything, that's it. I just love, the love that comes through, and
yes,
how broad the messages are, or the teaching that's coming through. Yeah, so yeah, you need to do that, Lou, because I'm gonna be like, oh, I want to hear about it. But oh my God, it sounds amazing. Everything sounds amazing that's happening.
It's funny because we all have these questions about the spirit world, and what better person to go to than somebody that's living there? Because these are still people. They're not a wisp of colorful energy. These are people that we're talking to. And it's just beautiful. And why not go to the source if you want the information? Now, this may offend some people and they may not agree with me, and that's quite okay with me. But apparently one of the questions that was asked of my person when I was in trance is, what is the truth about earthbound spirit?
Okay.
And he said, it's rubbish. Now, what he went on to explain, and I can only paraphrase because I didn't hear it, was that there are souls that feel more comfortable being close to the earth plane. And they may hover closer to people. And again, I have people, you may be one of them, Kathy, that helps people cross, that does that kind of thing. I've not had that experience myself. I think it would be awesome to have it, but I haven't had it. And I don't mean to offend anybody by any, because I'm just giving my experiences and my point of view. But he said that they can be misinterpreted as needing assistance to go to the light. And they do go to the light, but then they come back and they hover, and then they go back to the light. And he said that it is possible that there are a few rare instances where someone refuses to go. But that it's very rare, and that going to Gettysburg and having 150 Civil War soldiers walk up to you in spirit that have not crossed over, he said is rubbish. So they're not my words, they're his.
Well, I've actually heard that. I can't remember who allowed me to listen or something about something that came through spirit, and it sounds exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's truth or not.
And I like what you said, because
I tend to put my trust in spirit more than I do people.
Well, I like how you said, what you mentioned, that it would be very, very rare, very, very rare if there would
It can happen.
It can happen, but it would be.
But it's rare. And that most times it's just a misunderstanding of what you're feeling. They happen to be close to the earth plane in that moment. Maybe they want to be close to a family member because that person's going through a rough time. Or maybe they lived their whole life on the family farm and they just want to have a feel for the farm again because it's a special place for them. You happen to pick up on the energy at that moment. Maybe why you're feeling them. There's also a whole different thing with imprints and all that, but that's not something that came from spirit. That's just some things that we've talked about, which is a whole nother conversation. But the reason that I brought it up is it's one of those questions that people want to know the answer to. So we asked the spirit world and he said, rubbish.
Rubbish. Interesting. I mean, I told this. One of the
rubbish is not a word I use.
One of the questions I was about to ask you before you answered that was, do you ever receive guidance from spirit? What kind of information that comes through? And you automatically brought this up.
I have so many questions that I want to ask the spirit world that I won't even take up the time in this interview to go into them because they're vast. But I want to know things and souls and how does it work and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I have a group here in Maryland. We meet every 3 months called Mediumship, which is a group of local mediums that we are here to support and love each other because of some of the negative experiences people have had, that we come here only in a place of love and to support each other and to throw out the tough questions to just get what you feel. So but that's from a human perspective. So how beautiful is it now doing trance to be able to actually go to the source and go to spirit, not in my meditative mind, but through an actual soul sitting 4 feet in front of me that's willing to answer my questions. Wow, magic.
Oh my God, yeah, that sounds amazing. You know,
magic.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I have no idea. I think that I had maybe 2 questions left for you because I'm looking at. I told you in the beginning that
I tend to ramble. My apologies.
No, it's perfect because I told you in the beginning that I might ask you one question and you will answer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10 and 12, and I
right.
have what's happening. But so one of the things I know, and you talked about this already, trance is not something that can be developed like that. People might have their experience.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Though I will say that there is one person in our group that went into trance quite quickly.
Yes. Okay.
So for him, but that might be his sole purpose is not to do mental mediumship, but to do trance mediumship.
And I like how you said that. I like how.
And mental mediumship was the stepping stone to get him to trance.
The trance, yes. Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, you know what? Everybody says that they can't say that it's not an automatic experience. There might be some, and how you said it, that might be their purpose, that's where they need to go first. So I like how you described that. Is there any advice that you can give somebody starting their own circle? Just any basic advice that you could give somebody? Although I know you've touched on it already a little bit here and there about it.
Yeah, I think find people that are truly passionate is the first thing, or find people that are passionate that are willing to be helpers. In other words, lend their energy and their support to the process, but maybe don't want to develop themselves. That would be where I would start. I would recommend that you meet regularly, as in the same day of the week at the same time. You're setting an appointment with spirit. Now, not all these things are possible for everybody. Maybe some people can only meet every other week. I know my development, my mental mediumship development circle, we originally were meeting every other week. Then it went to every week. So maybe for you, every other week works. They have to have a commitment to be there. To say, I'm passionate about it, and yes, I'm going to be there every Tuesday night, and then be, oh, well, my son has soccer practice that night now, so I can't be there. Only, my husband will take him some, and I'll be there some. That, for me, is not going to work.
Yeah.
This is something that is a priority on your list. Again, just my opinion.
Yeah.
Having a good space to practice, I think, is helpful. If you can practice in the same space every week. I'm not a big fan of this week Trance is going to be there, and the next week we'll go to that person's house, and the next week that person's house. Though we have been told by Spirit in our circle that in time we're going to practice going to other spaces.
Wow.
To go into trance, to try it in different energetic environments. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of interesting, but we haven't done that yet. And don't make sure that everybody that comes into your circle understands this might not be the right circle for you for the get-go. Understand that from the beginning, so that there's no hard feelings. There's no, understand you just might not be the right person for this circle. Doesn't mean you can't start your own or join another one or whatever. That's kind of, if you can get a mentor or get somebody that you can go to as a group every 6 months or so, ideally, I think that'd be wonderful. Now, I know that's not always possible, but you have Sacred Dance with Trance where you can pose your questions. What a gift this Facebook group is for people that don't have that opportunity. So I would say utilize the Sacred Dance with Trance and say, we have a circle and this is an experience that we have. All of a sudden I got sparkles going over here on this side. What is that? To use the group to help them in the process. And honesty. Honesty and love, two most important things.
No, thank you so much for that. And you know what, for the group, that's actually coming up, hopefully this coming week, where a Zoom session is going to be in order, because a lot of people want to start their own circles, but they just don't know how. Or
right.
So having that and sharing experiences, and then having those posts where, hey, if you started your own circle, share here, anything, if somebody's asking a question about it, because then, we're all trying to do this and learn and grow together and maybe form circles together. It just depends. A lot of people want to.
Yeah. And, I'm completely open to people private messaging me or emailing me and saying, this is what's going on. If we need a little phone call, I'm new at doing this. What would you recommend? Because I know when we got started and we didn't have a clue what the heck we were doing.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I say, this is so
we still don't know what we're doing, but we're a little bit more experienced.
And then see, that's the beauty of this, is that I did that post about, if you want to join a circle or create your own circle, sign up here. And now that list has got to like 60 people. And I'm like, okay, I need to really make the appointment now and set, a Zoom thing, because they're trying to decide, okay, do we want physical? Do we want online? And everybody's kind of talking with each other.
Yeah, physical is a whole different can of worms. Yes. I didn't really talk about physical tonight because to me that's a whole nother Zoom, and I don't feel like I'm the person yet to give that kind of advice.
You said yet, so that could also end up being a later interview at another.
Yes, I will say number one, the person I work with was a physical medium when he was living. Number two, we have had physical phenomena happening in our space. So if you're going to do, and I would even recommend it for trance, we didn't talk about this, but lock the door. Be in a room where you can lock the door, because you don't want to be startled. It's, who wants that? And so if you're in a Zoom trance circle and you're sitting in your bathroom, because that's the quiet space in the house, lock the damn door. Because you don't want your husband or your wife or your kids to forget you're in there, and you're sitting in trance and all of a sudden somebody comes in and flicks the light on. Oh. It's certainly not going to kill you, but it certainly is unsettling, and why go through that?
Oh yeah.
So locking the door, I think, is important in that too. And then I got off track with where I was going. So
no.
I got on the lock the door thing.
No, it's perfect. Everything you shared, it is important, because like even my own circle, because, so, like again, people actually are sitting in an actual physical circle, or some people are doing online. And even with online, you do have to make sure all your phones are off. You don't, because you're in your space. You don't want to be going to trance, and the next, your home phone starts ringing. And
yes, exactly. Yep. No, it's important. Safety first, people. Yeah. I feel like OSHA right now. Safety first.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No, I love this. I'm laughing a lot in this interview, but everything you have said and how spirit is guiding it, you're like, oh yeah, I remember now. Okay, let me bring this up too. It's perfect. And you know what? That is actually the last question, because you've given so much advice throughout the entire interview about somebody just starting their journey. And the circle.
This might be the longest interview ever.
Oh my goodness, it could very well be, because I know that we had technical difficulty in the beginning, but hey, it is perfect. When information is shared, and I just allow it to flow, because
it's in their time, not our time.
Yeah, and they want this out, and that's what I feel. Everything is guided. Anything that is shared is meant to be. And I always say, when I get the goosebumps, I know for sure, and I've got them again. So, but I am so grateful, so very grateful to you, Lou Ann, for.
Well, we have a mutual gratitude party going on, because I'm grateful for you too.
And I can't wait for this to come out, and don't be surprised if, people start messaging, oh my God, Lou Ann, this is what's happening to me. So.
And I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with it. Okay. I feel my purpose too, aside from serving people, is to teach. Even though I have zero experience with teaching as far as, the degree. Mm-hmm. I was reminded by my grandmother, who was in spirit one time in a reading, that I have all the credentials I need because I come from 4 generations of teachers. And I greatly disappointed my grandmother when I decided that I wanted to do hotel and restaurant management and not be a teacher. And here I am, 40 years later, teaching. So she got her way after all.
Oh my goodness, I love that. And you are a fabulous teacher.
Thank you.
Oh my
goodness. Thank you.
Again, everybody, this is probably my longest interview. I won't
Sorry
until it comes back, but no, this is great. I should have said, grab the cup of coffee and your paper and pen before you started, because I didn't know that it was going to be this long. But no, this is fabulous. Again, Lou Ann, thank you.
Well, they can watch. They don't have to watch the whole thing over and over. If there's points in it that there's things that are brought up, just write down the time on the bottom, and then you can just go back to that instead of have to listen to me in the middle of the tidbit of information you want.
Everything that you've shared, it was perfect. Everything. And
thank you.
It's going to be one.
Gotta thank them though.
Thank you, everybody. And yes, and then you know what? All the technical issues that we had in the beginning cleared out. And so
good.
Oh my God. Thank you, Lou Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I had such a blast talking with you.
Good. I did too.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
we had a spirit party. It's awesome.
I know. So we are on the same time zone. So I know it is afternoon. And so you have a fabulous day, and thank you.
I will.
For sharing.
You too. And I'm happy to share. Like I said, if people want to message me about things that are happening, I'm certainly happy to give my experience. I may or may not be able to answer, but I'm an open book. It's not like, I'm not going to talk about that. Okay. I'm an open book. I'm going to put
your information in the post anyway to
okay.
Lou Ann Beecher Serenity Guides.
Yes, so, Serenity Guides. And if you want to find me, I'm just Serenity Guides at Yahoo.
And Yahoo. Okay.
I'm easy to find.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Lou.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Love you, girl.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Let's see.